What's up, everyone? Hope everybody out there is off to a great day. Here we are, day number 2 of the NASCAR Trial. And we're going to be taking a look today at the opening statements from each side of these race teams. Also, Denny Hamlin taking the stand yesterday and coming up for cross-examination this morning. So we're going to take a look at things that he said with this. Not going to be a lot of visuals with this. This is information, so you don't have to go read it. I'm going to give it to you so you can kind of get a summary of what's taken place so far. Yeah, you can see my notes. I just do a lot of writing. Well, let's jump into this here with things that took place yesterday with opening statements. The team started off with Kessler getting up there, displaying what they're going to lay the groundwork for what they proposed in this trial with. And they started out with the evidence of a anti-competitive strategy by Jim France will come in the form of emails, text by NASCAR executives showing unfairness towards teams in charter negotiations. Now, we knew this was going to happen because this really come out here recently. It's a really nasty one. So, going to be interesting to see where they go with all these things with this. Also, that the France family is the board of directors. Basically, Jim France is NASCAR. And that the executives, which they're naming 3, who they call lieutenants with this situation right here, that they all knew what Jim France was doing with the negotiations of the charter. And that also that one of these NASCAR execs called it a bad deal. And several teams have called it a take it or leave it deal. Basically saying you sign by midnight or you lose your charter. Now, this is also a thing where they're saying right now that teams, they wanted permanent charters. This is what they were searching for with this whole deal. They also wanted $20 million per car. But in the end, they only got $12.5 million. So they need the rest of this money to come in from sponsorship, which Denny Hamlin's testimony is going to come into this here in a second. Of why he's kind of pissed. And the teams also wanted veto power on competition changes, basically saying that if NASCAR is going to come out here and do some things that are going to cost them a bunch of money, they want to be able to have some veto power. They want some say in this, just like I said yesterday. They want a seat at the table with things of this nature. But also with the new charter agreement, there was a 3-strike provision in the old one that they've lost now. They takes away that little bit of leverage that they did have if they didn't agree with something that was going on. So not happy with that, they are. And Kessler went on to say this is equivalent to buying a house versus leasing a house. Basically saying that this is NASCAR intellectual property that these guys are investing in and everything else. And they want a little piece of the pie with this right here because who wants to lease something when you can buy it? So pretty good analogy right there with that. And also that NASCAR placed provisions on tracks that didn't allow them to schedule competitor series without NASCAR's approval, which, again, this is NASCAR. So they're going to do what they want to do with this. And also that teams can't race in competitive series without NASCAR's approval. So obviously just showing that you have to have a stamp from NASCAR before you're going to do anything else, whether it's with your team or with the tracks that are not owned by NASCAR. And also that NASCAR implemented single-source next-gen car, or the single-source next-gen car, and is protected by its intellectual property, and it's being used in that can't be used in other series, and that NASCAR is controlling the cost on all these things that go along with it. So basically saying NASCAR is setting the price, they own the intellectual property, that they're basically running the show for everything. But also saying that Jim France is running this whole thing with this negotiation and NASCAR right now for the benefit of his family at the expense of the race teams. So this is what they're fighting for right now on the NASCAR or on the race team half. Now, when you get over to NASCAR on their opening statements, that they said that the teams are attacking the charter system that honors what the team signed up for in 2016. Basically saying, this is what was in it. Everybody signed up for it. We've honored it. So we're good. And also said none of the things in this lawsuit were brought up until the lawsuit was filed. In other words, saying that the things that you're complaining about right now, you never brought up to us prior. So basically saying that there was no mention of a anti-competitive behavior until the teams didn't sign agreements. So again, just saying you didn't make note of this before, you didn't bring this up. You waited till you took a lawsuit out. Now you're doing it. And they're also bringing up that Curtis Polk brought up a lawsuit was their greatest leverage. And I'm saying this for a lot of great reasons. I think Curtis Polk's going to be a big part of this right now because Curtis Polk through the Race Team Alliance when negotiations started. Curtis Polk was a big vocal piece for all the team owners. He stood up, was talking for a lot of the teams with this right here. So I know there's a lot of inside stuff that's probably going to come out that he's had back and forth in emails. And basically saying that teams are suing for better terms rather than righting a wrong with an antitrust claim with this right here. But they, again, to go back to Curtis Polk, they pointed out 2023 emails from 2023 from Polk, where he showed admiration for the France family with their business workings, the way they did everything, and never mentioned anything of an anti-competitive tactic in that. So again, these emails from both sides are going to play a big part in everything. And went on to say that if these charters were such a bad deal and produced anti-competitive tactics, then why is 2311 front row? Why are these race teams buying more charters? In other words, saying, if it's a bad investment, why do you want to buy more? Why would you buy more all along? And also arguing that NASCAR's non-compete agreement is basically no different than what the race teams make their drivers sign. So saying, hey, y'all are doing this, we can do it too. It's going to be interesting, guys. It's going to be interesting. But also going on with that the non-compete is a trade-off for a bigger guarantee in revenue that all the teams agreed to. So again, they're going back to saying that everybody was okay with this prior to lawsuit. Nobody brought it up prior to this lawsuit. So what's your deal now? And then they moved over to the merger with International Speedway Corporation and saying that this was for flexibility in scheduling and also for innovation. And part of this right here was because what they're saying is that NASCAR basically took the risk to go to Chicago, to go to LA, that this was out-of-pocket expenses that they had, and that they really took a loss on this. And part of this risk is everything because they had tracks that they had close to these areas that they could have raced at, but they were going to be innovative. They were going to do more for the sport to bring more money into it and everything else. So they took these risks, and that they wouldn't be able to do this if they were a publicly traded entity. So I think more of this is going to come up on those aspects as well as this thing goes on. But also saying that Curtis Polk had a premeditated vision of bringing this lawsuit if they didn't get what they wanted. So again, I think Curtis Polk's testimony is going to be one of the biggest parts of this right here because, like I say, with Race Team Alliance, he was a big voice with things that went on. And obviously behind the scenes, he's been with this, and his private emails are coming out, as with all the private emails and texts. So it's going to get interesting, I promise you. But then Denny Hamlin took the stand and was the first witness for the race teams. And it's an interesting strategy because Michael Jordan was designated as the key player, basically the shooting guard for the race teams right here. And the other guys were not going to be able to be in there to hear testimony. But Denny Hamlin going up there and being the first to testify, he's going to be able to sit through the rest of the trial and hear everybody else's testimony. And Curtis Polk, the same way. As soon as he takes the stand, once he's done, he will be able to sit in and hear everything else as well. So they played this out that way. But Denny Hamlin took the stands for 40 minutes, answered questions from his legal team, which by all means seemed to be friendly, seemed to be setting an easygoing tone at first with everything. Where they talked about his graduating, his diploma, asked him how his season went, which he was kind of joking about that, you know, had a championship won till 3 laps to go. But then they brought up things about how they were able to obtain another charter. They went into these things about sponsorship. And this is what we're going to go into here because Denny Hamlin brought up sponsorship on 3 different occasions through 40 minutes yesterday. And part of that was that they were able to buy this charter because the team that they bought the charter off from, excuse me, which was Jermaine Racing, had to close their doors because they lost their sponsor Geico, and they lost that sponsor Geico to NASCAR. So basically NASCAR was taking sponsorship away from race teams, which caused that team to close up. And he also said that he has to compete with sponsors now with NASCAR. Basically saying that if sponsors are looking to come into the NASCAR series right now with race teams or any aspect, that NASCAR goes after them to get them for themselves instead of going to the race teams. So that's why he's kind of pissed there about the thing of, we wanted 20 million, we got 12 and a half. We need the sponsorship money. But if we're going after it and you're going after it, that's kind of a conflict of interest right there to keep these race teams alive. So very interesting. with that aspect right there. And again, going on to say 20 million per car, 12.5 million right now. And the other part is that he's saying without Michael Jordan, this wouldn't be possible. This is why so many other race teams are losing money, because they don't have Michael Jordan. And I went over this yesterday, that Michael Jordan has a huge influence around the world. People know him. He's attracting sponsors and things like that. So it's allowing them to make some profit and stay afloat. But other teams don't have a Michael Jordan, so it's causing them to have some issues. He also wanted to say that 11 of 19 original charters from 2016 have had to close their doors. That's interesting. I really didn't pay attention to that prior. And that the mid-season rule changes right now can cost them $1.5 million per car, which is costly on top of what they've already are garnering with everything else. And at the international races, the Mexico City race is a costly venture for them that sets them back with their initial outlook plan for the beginning of the year with money. They're also paying JGR $2.66 million per car per year for an alliance with them, because JGR is basically Toyota of NASCAR. So if you want that, you've got to go through them. It also come out about paying $35 million for their shop, which they said they did this because they want to attract the best sponsors, the best help, and everything else. But they go back again to say, or Denny does anyway, the NASCAR goes after personnel, NASCAR goes after sponsors and everything else. So it's a tough battle to try to stay afloat with everything, and that's why they're going after what they are. Now, in cross-examination this morning, NASCAR team brought up that Hamlin has praised NASCAR in the past. And Denny went on to say that this was used to promote the series. These are talking points that they have to use and everything else, because you can't talk negatively about NASCAR. So he's kind of saying these are things I have to say to promote the series. He also brought up that he makes $14 million driving for Joe Gibbs Racing. Whew, that'd be a nice little salary. And but as of 2024, he had put almost $10.75 million into 2311, and has had to take out loans for the rest, accumulating to almost $45 million that he's basically on the hook for with this right here. That's a big investment, my friends. And also saying that 2311 as a race team pays back $1 million a year in rent to try to cover the costs that they invested in that $35 million to build the race shop. So, man, this is just the beginning right now. I'm telling you, I said yesterday, the Rob Kaufman thing, I'm really looking forward to hearing what Rob Kaufman's got to say. All the other race team owners, you're sworn in to tell the truth, and I'm really interested to see what all they're going to have to say. Rob Kaufman, because he really doesn't have anything per se right now invested in this, but a lot of history with everything. The Curtis Polk testimony, that's going to be big. That's going to be real big right there on both sides, especially with cross-examination. I think that's going to get pretty heated with different aspects. But man, that's the summary right now of what's taking place up till this moment. And again, a lot of reading, a lot of notes right here, so you don't have to go back through and try to read stuff and catch up with everything. It's what I plan to do throughout this whole trial. So I appreciate you sticking with me and watching. And comment down below on how you feel about things so far right now. And again, at this point right now, which side are you on? Whose side are you on? And do you think anywhere through this trial that you're going to fluctuate to leaning towards another side that you weren't initially with? Because I'm going to tell you, for me personally, as things come out, it's been interesting. And I really didn't even want to cover this lawsuit. But the more things come out, man, it's become interesting. And I'm here, so I hope you join me. Anyways, man, hope everybody out there is having a great week. And as always, we'll see you at the checkered flag.